Help is just a click away with Shoreside Therapy's free 15-minute consultation. At Shoreside Therapies, they offer personalized therapy services that combine evidence-based techniques with genuine care and understanding. They provide various solutions to make the therapy process more accessible, including virtual appointments and assistance with insurance benefits. Their team of licensed therapists is dedicated to helping you build resilience and confidence while navigating life's challenges. Join Shoreside Therapies on your journey to finding inner peace and happiness. Go to shoresidetherapies.com for a free 15-minute consultation and discover the benefits of counseling. At Shoreside Therapies, again, shoresidetherapies.com, and schedule your free consultation right online. Welcome to the Wisconsin Wellness Podcast. I'm Laurie Groh, your host, mental health therapist, and practice owner. Each month, we'll showcase a central theme and provide weekly practical hacks, inspiring interviews, and valuable advice from wellness professionals. Our aim is to help you streamline your wellness and mental health journey. So let's start the show. Hello. Welcome, Wisconsinites. Welcome to the Wisconsin Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Laurie Groh, and today we have Paula Kramer. So welcome, Paula.
Welcome. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in to share your story and what you do. It sounds to me like it could be useful for so many different people. So I'm going to share a little bit about Paula, and then we'll get in it. Paula's mother had tried to kill her twice in her life. As a child, Paula developed soft skill power strategies for taking positive control in small spaces. Paula now offers online self-study courses so you can learn the soft skill power strategies that took her from silenced voice to international voice, attracting unimaginable successes along the way. Wow, that's quite the transformation.
That's quite the transformation, yes. Yes, my mother tried to kill me because she was raised to believe that she could prove herself a worthy woman only as the mother of a son. I was her second daughter instead of her first son, so she saw me as a threat. My mother's mother, my maternal grandmother, was paranoid schizophrenic. She never could nurture my mother, of course, and my mother was the second daughter who was supposed to be a son. My grandparents' first child was a baby boy who died in infancy. Then my Aunt Terry was born, and then my mother. So my mother got similar treatment that she gave to me. I don't know if my grandmother tried to kill my mother, but she did threaten my grandfather with a butcher knife, and my grandfather took it seriously enough that he left the family.
Wow.
So a woman like that can't nurture children.
Right.
So my mother didn't know how to nurture, and she didn't nurture any of her 6 kids or my father. And so and my father loved me, and he did what parents are not supposed to do. He told me that I was his favorite child, but that kept me sane living with my mother. But I was terrified of him because first of all, he entered a monastery when he was 13 years old to get an education. He grew up on a farm and was poor, and that was a way to get an education. He left the monastery and married my mother, but in a monastery, you are not taught to talk about yourself or even to defend yourself. So my mother treated him as badly as she treated everybody else, and he became a quiet alcoholic to cope with the emotional abuse. He would go off to work, do a good job, come home, drink 3 quarts of beer. And he couldn't keep all those feelings buried, of course. So eventually he would erupt in rages that lasted for hours, periodically, 2 or 3 times a year. He'd erupt in these rages. And he broke my sister's arm during one of those rages. She was early teens, I think, when this happened.
Okay.
She had done something he didn't like, or something set him off. She was lying on her bed, face down. She put her arm behind her back to protect her bottom, and he had a rolled newspaper that he was hitting her with, and he hit her arm and broke it. So I was terrified of my father.
Wow.
I knew he loved me, but I was terrified of him. So I
Right.
had to learn soft skill strategies with people outside of the home. The murder attempts happened when I was a baby. I have memories. The first attempt is not clear. The second attempt, I have strong memories. I was 5.5 months old about. And I have found
Wow.
research that shows that babies as young as 3 months can remember trauma
Wow.
in the form
Wow.
of visual memories. And I had a visual memory of my father coming into a room where I was in the crib holding a bottle. And to me, that meant I was going to live. But my baby brain didn't have the words to say, Mom tried to kill me. I just had this memory coming to me throughout my life until I could say to myself what that memory meant. And then it came in color. It was engraved for most of my life. For all those times it just came to me. It would just come at different times. And I wasn't aware enough, or maybe it was too scary, to keep track of when that memory came to me. Because if I had done that, I would have been able to put things together. But I wasn't ready to put things together until I was 42. When I finally said to myself, Mom did try to kill me, the memory came back one more time in color, and I could hear sound. I could see the color of the room and the color of my father's shirt, and I could hear. It was probably August. It was hot. I could hear noises from outside. My father was teaching at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois at the time, and there are hospitals near the university. I remember hearing a loud sound that didn't stop. My mother probably thought it was a police siren. I think it was probably an ambulance. So someone else's tragedy saved my life because she heard that sound and left the room. And then
Wow.
sometime later, my father came into the room with the bottle.
Wow. So, Paula, can I ask you a bit about, you said when you were, was it around in your 40s, you started to
42. I was 42 when I said to
42.
myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the images that were coming up for you were black and white and gray,
That
and then
memory,
it started.
That memory, yes, black and white.
Yeah, that memory. So through that first step, what was the first step of processing that? Was it sharing it with somebody? Was it internal?
Well, I was in therapy. I had started college when I was 35. I didn't start college at age 18 because my mother would have decided where I went and what I took. And I wanted to get away from her control. So I started when I was 35, and a psychology professor I became friendly with suggested I go into therapy because she could see that things were wrong, and I was depressed. I was suicidally depressed for a couple of decades because I had all of these clues. I had lots of clues to the murder memories. My mind separated them into physical, mental, and emotional clues. And I went into therapy just because she said. I didn't go into therapy to deal with my childhood. I went into therapy because of what she said. And I had 2 therapists for 2.5 years. The first therapist, I now understand, gaslighted me. I kept a journal, started a journal in 1978. So I was keeping a journal when I was going through therapy. And so I wrote about therapy in my journal. I'm going through my journals now. I'm reading through them for the 3rd time. It's really difficult reading.
Oh, I bet.
But I'm going through the journal period for the 3rd time because I'm going to turn this into a book to show what's good therapy and what's bad therapy. The first therapist decided that I was suicidally depressed because I didn't like myself. And her solution to all of my problems was that I should find a man and get married. She actually said that in one session.
She did. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no.
I know. But I was poor. If you have children in your life, tell them to never pull a chair out from under anyone. When I was 12 years old, a boy in school pulled my chair out from under me. I landed hard on my tailbone. Medical professionals misdiagnosed that injury for 33 years. I have lived with out-of-place pelvis, hips, and vertebra for 60 years. It's getting better because I finally got the correct treatment, and I found a car that holds my hips in place, which helps my vertebrae stay in place. But some people are instantly paralyzed. I'm lucky I can walk. But I was poor. because how do you earn money if your pelvis, hips, and vertebra are out of place? And my husband died when our daughter was 8 months old. So I had to go where the county sent me. I had this therapist for 2.5 years, and then she moved away, luckily. The second therapist still believed I didn't like myself, but actually listened to what mattered to me. The first therapist refused to listen because she was determined to fit me into her favorite theory. The second therapist listened, and because she listened, I was able to start paying attention to the clues. One of the continuing clues was nightmares. I had nightmares. I had one recurring nightmare that started as a child, maybe ending in my late teens, where I was walking into a cave with someone behind. In the middle of the cave, this big cavern. In the middle of the cave was this kind of bird fountain structure, but there was no water in it. There was a flame in it. And we walked up to this structure, looked at the flame, and I could suddenly see a skeleton shrinking in the flame. I had that nightmare for probably a decade, close to a decade.
Wow. So that was a clue. So when you were go ahead. Go ahead.
That was just one of the nightmares. I actually had nightmares that replicated the murder attempts. My mother putting down on my mouth to smother me and holding my kicking legs out. And I had pain in my legs, especially my left leg, until I was 42. It was so bad that I couldn't hold my small daughter on my lap because my legs was hurt. Medical doctors said, oh, there's nothing wrong. I felt pain, but they couldn't. They decided that if they couldn't find it, it didn't exist. And when I said to myself, Mom did try to kill me, the pain went away. All the clues went away when I said to myself, Mom did try to kill me. And I said that after waking up from a dream.
So your body reacted once you were able to...
My body reacted, yes.
Yeah, once you're able to acknowledge the truth. Yeah. So this second therapist, it sounds like, was listening and helping you look for clues and look for what's actually happening, not just putting you in a box and saying, yeah.
After I had that nightmare, when I woke up and said, Mom did try to kill me, I went into therapy, and previous to this, I had started saying that if my mother thought she could get away with it, she would kill me. And that therapist thought that was not likely, because who believes their mother is going to kill a baby? Mother's going to kill a baby. So I went in and I said, I had a dream. Mom did try to kill me. Mother did try to kill me. And she said, it must be true because you're entirely different.
Wow. Can I ask just what that felt like?
Felt like it was a relief because I finally understood all kinds of things. And I could stop screaming at my daughter. I stopped screaming at my daughter. I was screaming at my daughter. When I felt overwhelming stress, I screamed at my daughter. And the overwhelming stress came from not knowing how to cope with all these clues that my mother tried to kill me. When you don't know how to cope with that, the normal stresses of life become overwhelming. And so I stopped screaming at her.
So when you were in that space of really coming to terms with that truth and you're seeing and feeling all of those changes, it sounds positively through your body, your actions. Tell me a bit about that next step, because you went from discovery and now you're speaking and it sounds as though you're writing, is it a second book?
I am. I'm in 4 cooperative books. Turning my journal into a book. I'm writing a book about shaping small groups to succeed. I'm revising a book about shaping small groups to succeed. From 42 to here at 72, 30 years, a lot happened.
I'm sure.
Just because I remembered that she tried to kill me, the terror of my childhood didn't end. It doesn't end just because mentally you can say, Mom did try to kill me. All of that emotion is still in there. It's still in there.
Right.
And there were all kinds of triggers. The worst story of my childhood was the Abraham and Isaac story, because God told Abraham to kill his son. And God tells someone to kill, parent to kill, of course the parent's going to kill. Abraham was ready to kill. And that translated in my child mind into anybody who saw me do something they didn't like, could tell my mother to kill me, and she would. So I grew up with a fear of everybody in the world unless I could trust them. Everybody.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until I was 70, just 2 years old, 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, when I felt safe in the world. And that came about with my first cooperative book. It's through the Women's Speakers Association. The title is Voices of the 21st Century, Resilient Women Who Rise and Make a Difference. And I'm resilient, obviously. I'm here. So I wrote about my childhood, about my mother and my spinal injury and my husband dying when our daughter was 8 months old, and how I got through all of that. About a month after it launched, I realized I was no longer afraid. I finally felt that if someone tried to kill me, there were enough other people to protect me that no one could murder me. Just 2 years of feeling safe. Actually, close to 3, because I'm 73 in February, and it launched in February 3 years ago. So only 3 years of feeling safe in the world.
Because that's being heard by many, many people.
Yes, by many people. And I became a professional speaker because of a non-trad student in school. We were in Com 101 together. I considered her the best speaker in the class. We were the only non-trad students in the class. I considered her the best speaker. The professor was stingy with her grade. One day after I gave a speech, this other student came up to me and asked me what I had gotten on my last speech, what grade. I told her an A-. She said to me, "You'd think you and I could get straight A's." And I thought, he thinks I'm as good as she is. And
I love that.
And I want to point out, that's how I survived my childhood. I listened to positive words I could trust. And I developed soft skills, power strategies by speaking positive words that other people could trust. That's how I survived.
Oh, I love that. Can I hear more about that? The positive words you can trust, because I think I'm understanding it. It comes up with a lot of my clients where there might be these positive things or affirmations they might be saying, but there's this other voice that's saying that's not true.
Right. I refused, somehow as a child, I refused to listen to negativity, to negative words. I never said negative words to myself. And now, as an adult, at age 72, if I do something stupid, I say, that was stupid. I don't say, you were stupid. I say, that was stupid. The action was stupid. I'm a smart person who sometimes does stupid things.
Yeah.
I have never said negative things to myself. I hated myself when I screamed at my daughter, and I had a 25-year eating disorder, compulsive overeating, to step down the feeling. I hated myself for those actions, but I never, ever saw the fault as coming from me. I knew it was a situation that I didn't know how to cope with.
Wow, and that's resilience, because I feel like that piece is sometimes what's the most challenging, is separating my environment or the people around me from myself and who I am. Yeah. Right. So you were able to, it sounds like your whole life really focusing in on those positive things and finding.
Yes, finding the positivity in anything.
Yeah. So Paula, I'm curious a bit about your course. Yes. So you have a course helping others.
I have a course called Collaboration Up, Toxic Gossip Down, Rewards Up, Losses Down. And another course called Career Advancement Up, Career Backlash Down, Loyalty Up. I didn't use the word gossip in my mind on my first job after high school. Since I didn't go to college, I got a full-time job at an insurance agency at the bottom of the pyramid. And when the first time I started hearing toxic gossip, I decided I wasn't going to listen to it if I could do something about it, because the only day of the year I could be certain my mother wouldn't say anything negative to me was Christmas Day. 4 days a year, I heard negative things from her. And I wasn't going to listen to negativity in my workplace if I could do something about it. And I did something about it. I decided on a strategy, and it worked. I got what I wanted.
Wow.
And yes, and that was The gossip course is for taking positive control in situations. The career advancement course is for taking positive control in relationships. And there was another problem that came up in a relationship in that workplace, same place. And I developed a strategy and I got the outcome I wanted again. The relationship was repaired. 18 years old. But that's how
my
determined
gosh.
I am not going to let this go on. So I've developed more strategies over the years and learned more things about relationships. And so now I give people the ability to take positive control in these situations.
Wow, what a gift to be able to give that back to people. Yeah.
That's how I recover from my childhood, by giving other people the ability to take positive control in the way I did. There's lots of parts of my childhood where I had no control, but I was able to take some positive control in all kinds of places. And that's why I'm still alive.
Yeah. Yeah. So with your course, with your courses, what would be, it sounds like a lot of it would be tools based on this is going on.
I provide strategies. I provide real life examples for every single lesson, real life examples, my own real life examples and other people's real life examples that you can find in books. And, I draw them from the world around me. So real life examples where this works. And the second course, the career advancement course, talks about backlash rewires. And backlash rewires are things you shouldn't do because they invite backlash.
Yeah.
So I have some incredible examples of backlash because people didn't think before they spoke or acted.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. So would you be able to share a little bit? Obviously, people will want to move forward and get the course, but would there be anything you'd be willing to share as far as maybe a small example or something that they could find?
On my course's website, I have 3 video lessons that are free. And one of them actually combines both the gossip strategy and information from the relationship course. I've been researching gossip since 1988 when I based my master's thesis on the gossip on talk shows hosted by women. I started researching gossip back then, and I've been researching gossip ever since. And I've identified 8 characteristics of good gossip, bad gossip, and ugly gossip. They are all 3. And I'm not the only person saying that gossip can be good. Gossip makes connection. And the second, the good gossip characteristics is to ignore stereotype. So this gossip lesson is about ignoring stereotypes, using good gossip to ignore stereotypes. An acquaintance of mine told me that someone from her company who she had never gotten along with was going to be working in her department with her, and she didn't know how she could stand this change.
Oh, yeah.
I asked some questions to find out what their behavior styles were. The career advancement course is based on DISC behavior styles, DIST. You know about
yes.
And then Springer guiding values, which are based on both DISC behavior styles and Springer guiding values, are based on books written in 1928 that are useful today, and neither theory was copyrighted, so all kinds of people use research and base all kinds of things on these 2 theories. I asked my acquaintance questions to determine their behavior styles. They were opposite. My acquaintance was a high influence. The other woman, the coworker, was a high C conscientiousness, which can be sometimes stereotyped as picky. So I gave my acquaintance 3 things to do. One was to explain that the high C conscientiousness need some control of their surroundings to feel safe, to feel like they can get on with their lives. So I said, give her whatever control you can. And she decided to give her control of the files that they shared. She was in charge of them. And I said, whatever you give her control of, tell her what you like about how she's taking that control, and then ask her about her thoughts, because high C conscientiousness people want people to be interested in their thought. This was in 2000. This happened in 2000. And I thought the relationship would improve. What happened was it turned around completely.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I wasn't expecting that. They got along. They started getting along, and the high C conscientiousness started taking into account my acquaintances' high C influence need. And so they had this good working relationship.
Wow.
Yes, and it took me about
That's
10 years
so
to figure out
cool.
what I did right. I didn't know what I did right. I didn't know. But about 10 years later, I was researching effective groups and organizations for transforming behavior. And it dawned on me that every single one of them was satisfying physical, mental, and emotional needs all at the same time. I thought back to the advice I gave my acquaintance, and that's what my advice was. Giving her control in her surroundings satisfied a physical need. Saying what she liked about that control satisfied an emotional need. And asking about her thought satisfied a mental need.
So
Very
cool.
simple. 3 simple steps. And it just made all the difference.
Yeah. That is very interesting. I'm very familiar with the DISC, and it does highlight, I think, for people, one other aspect, which is that we tend to maybe blame another person for their behaviors and the way they are, when really it is about how they navigate the world.
Right.
And using that frame, I think, just inherently does switch around what you're actually trying to do. It's not a me versus them. It's how do we navigate this with these two different ways of being, and how can we figure it out and be in harmony? Yeah.
And when we stereotype someone based on their behavior style, we're inviting them to stereotype us based on our behavior styles. High influence people are talkers. And so the coworker could have stereotyped my acquaintance as this woman who won't shut up.
That's a good point as well. Like when you're doing it, you're going to get a little bit of that back.
That's right.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. So learning some of those skills, that's when we're talking about the soft skills, right?
Yeah,
the communication and how to get those 3 needs met. Sounds like the physical, emotional, and what was the other one?
Mental. Physical, mental, emotional. Yeah.
Yes. And so they can look and find that right on your website. It sounds like there's some free videos.
There's free video. I actually have another website that explains a lot about DISC behavior styles and Springer guiding values, and it's all free. So you can go there and use it. That one is smilesparksuccess.com. I explain DISC behavior styles. I explain Springer guiding values. The Springer guiding values, there are 6 attitudes. The man who wrote about them, Edward R. Springer, which is why I call him Springer. Guiding values is my term. Nobody else that I found has used that term. Springer didn't use it. He talked about how of the 6 attitudes values, 2 of them form a set that guide our decision. So I call that set our guiding values. And I give you a way to identify quickly. I call them quick looks. I have PDF downloads with quick looks, so you can quickly identify your guiding value set, and you can identify your DISC behavior style. High S, there's high behavior style, secondary high behavior style, and I give you ways to identify them. So then it's easier for you to figure out what you need, the when you know what you need to feel satisfied enough to be accomplished in the world. You can say to people, this is what I need.
Yeah, I love that, because that does make a huge difference. And for a lot of people, I don't know if they do know what they need. They just maybe know they're not feeling good, or they're unhappy. And
when I was in therapy, with the first therapist, I decided that I was in therapy. I was a full-time student, and I was homeschooling my daughter because she asked me to homeschool her. So a little bit of stress.
Yeah.
I decided to do 10 minutes of something I wanted to do in the morning. 10 minutes. After I learned about the DISC behavior styles, I realized that those activities were the stress relief activities for my secondary behavior style, secondary high S steadiness. We need steadiness in our life. And my 10 minutes were working a jigsaw puzzle, gardening, reading, sewing, quiet activities like that. I did those 10 minutes, and the rest of the day became easy, whatever happened.
You were meeting your own need right there.
I was meeting my own need. Yeah. For 10 minutes in the morning.
Wow. And I could see how that would shift everything, because you're really saying to yourself, I'm going to take care of myself, right? There's that piece. And every time you can do that, we build more and more trust with ourselves of, I can count on myself for doing this 10 minutes a day.
Right.
I might not have control over the rest because it sounds like there was a lot happening.
There were.
But this 10 minutes is for me. And this 10 minutes then impacts everybody else in such a positive way.
Right. And those are 10 minutes of positive soft skills with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to do this today.
Yeah. And then you start to notice, I'm assuming for most people, they'll start to notice what is working and what's not working and with themselves and then possibly with other people.
Yes. When you know the behavior styles, when you understand the behavior styles, you can understand, and the guiding values, you can understand every relationship in your life. And then if you should stay in a relationship, limit the relationship or leave the relationship. And I left the relationship with my mother and my siblings.
You did? Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was never going to change. I knew that the only way to stay in touch with them was to pretend to be someone I was not.
That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And all of your work is, to me, based on being truthful and honest and connected to yourself.
Yes.
All of those things can't really exist in a world where you have to be something else.
No, they can't.
Yeah. Yeah, that is amazing that you were able to transform your life, but also it sounds to me like there was this part inside you that was there all along, this part of you that was there focusing in on your positive self, and that part of you was guiding you. And it sounds like almost intuitive when you're 18, going back to some of those stories you shared, you just intuitively knew what would help. And then, I got to figure out how to recreate this.
Right.
Which is really cool. And taking the time to study and research. I'm curious to go back to the gossip for a moment, because that also makes me a bit curious, because I grew up watching a lot of those shows you were talking about, of female hosted shows, questioning people and look at what this person's doing and what you described as some positive. But could you tell me a little bit about the positive part of gossip?
Making connections. Positive gossip, making connections, ignoring stereotypes. Good gossip characteristics are ignoring stereotypes, creating connections, increasing understanding, encouraging growth, building cooperation, preventing wrongs by promoting connections and understanding, and can lead to unimagined benefit, and gives bystanders reasons to trust. Most people have no idea how much bystanders affects our lives. They just don't. Bystanders have all kinds of influence in our lives, depending upon whether we invite loyalty or backlash. Good gossip gives them a reason to trust. Even if you're dealing with someone you don't like, you be positive with them in some way, so the bystanders can see you're being positive and have reasons to trust you.
That makes a ton of sense. I wouldn't have thought about it in that way, that if you're sharing positive things about a friend or coworker or really anyone, that's inviting other people to feel close and connected, even if you're not talking directly to them.
My first ever gossip strategy, where I ended bad gossip, I was a bystander.
So what did you end up doing in that situation?
Give away a strategy?
Oh,
that's okay. I'm not the only person who's used this strategy. I have invented several gossip strategies. This one I didn't invent because I've seen other people use it and read about other people using it. A woman in my department, who was also a permanent employee, started saying negative things about one of the employees, a man. And I just wasn't going to listen to it. He was in a different department, so we didn't see him all the time. So she could say all these negative things and not get direct response from him.
Right.
Until I intervened, and I told him. I stopped him in the hallway once, and I told him, this is what she's saying about you. That's all I did. I stopped him in the hallway one day, and I said, she's telling it these stories about you, saying these things about you. One day I walked through the hallway, and I saw him talking to her. That was the end of it. No more negative talk.
It ended.
It ended. Mm-hmm.
That's a difficult way but also a way that works.
It works. You give the responsibility to the victim of the gossip, to the target of the gossip. I was the bystander. That's what I was.
Yeah, you're the bystander.
Who wanted to stop the negative gossip, and I did.
And gossip.
They are simple. They are all simple. They probably won't be effective every single time, but they are simple. And every single one I've developed on my own has been simple.
What do you hope that our listeners can take in?
I talk about creating success in small spaces to create the triumphs of life. The first small spaces where I took positive control were my ears and my mouth. That I listened to and what I said.
Yeah. And people have control over that, right?
Everybody has control over that, over what they listen to and what they say.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Thank you so much, Paula, for being here today. And Paula, if you could share again where anyone that wants to could reach out, contact you, or sign up for one of your courses.
My email address is paula@speakingfromtriumph.com. The name of my business is Speaking from Triumph Over Tragedies, which is where you'll find the gossip information. There's a page called Gossip Power, Good, Bad, and Ugly. My courses are self-study courses, and they are at softskillstrategycourses.com, where I have 2 other free lessons. One is about the 3 groups of people in your life. If you can recognize those 3 groups of people, you know who to maintain the relationship with, who to focus on for inviting loyalty, and who to focus on for limiting backlash. And then the other video is about 3 triggers that often spark workplace violence. And when you know what those triggers are, you can do something to disengage those triggers.
Those sound amazing. Thank you so much, Paula, and I appreciate you taking time today to speak with me, and I hope that we get to talk again soon.
Yes, I do too, Laurie. Thank you. I've enjoyed this greatly.
Me too. All right, take care.
You too.
Thank you for joining us today on the Wisconsin Wellness Podcast. Remember, your well-being is a priority, and we're here to help support you every step of the way. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring content on health and wellness. You can also join our Facebook group to connect with Wisconsin wellness providers by clicking the link in our show notes. Take care of yourself and remember that your well-being is a journey, not a destination. We look forward to you joining us again next time on the Wisconsin Wellness Podcast. Until then, stay well and stay inspired.